Hello, my name is Emilie Gallier. I'm a choreographer, and here we are in the ISECA Amsterdam Center to talk about the choreography on paper, poem and essay that are gathered in the book Sync, a book performance project.
Okay. Could you tell me that again? How
Yes.
is that a book is a choreography or a book is your piece? Tell me that again.
Yes. So the book is.
This is the book.
Yes, this is the Sync book.
Mhm.
How does it manifest as a choreography? Well, how is it a choreography? I've been collaborating with two writers, Jana Lontius and Daniel Rovers. Jana is a poetess, and Daniel wrote an essay about the project. And that's quite a big story. How did it turn into a choreography? How does it turn into a performance? Well, we basically met. We met and tried to probe how to meet through writing. So we met once, and then we decided to give each other assignment about synchronicity, how to meet, how to be together through text, through writings. And Jana would write a poem, I would write a choreography on paper. The poem and the choreography on paper would be inspired by the synchronicity, this question of how to be together, and also the dorsality, that is the thought of what is behind us, what we do not see. So Jana connected it with the pictures of stairs. I connected it with different imaginary, like folding and folding. What is at the back? The neighbor, actually, the other that is behind. So we exchanged first of all keywords. So that would be kind of clues we would give each other's, and we kept moving through the writing. So Jana took the bubble in the belly. That was a description of a keyword that I wrote. It's called fish dorsal fin. And it's a keyword, just to say about a keyword is this word, for instance, fish dorsal fin, that I will find page 8. And I describe it through, I call it a mini score. So it's written here: I have a bubble in my lower pelvis. It travels around from the inside, side to side, up to down, and so on. So it's really describing a movement, more or less through a prescriptive way. So sometimes it's very vague, actually, inviting the imaginary to complete. And
Okay, and this is a part of your research that you are doing as a part of a master's degree.
yes.
And your background is in dance.
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that, and how come with this idea, or how do you introduce this idea of choreography as a book, or the or how you were saying the book performs, or the choreography performs as a book.
Yes. So I've been working as a choreographer a lot with writing, so I always write before I encounter the performers. I use text a lot, and I use notations also that I've been discovering through Myriam Goffink in Royaumont. So I followed this program at the PRCC in Royaumont, and I discovered how I could use symbols of lab annotation in order to communicate very concrete movement parameters to the performers. I was also using text, like the fish dorsal fin text, in order to raise the imaginary, to involve the thought of the performers. So that was how I was working before I started to engage into research through the master degree in Artes in the Netherlands here. And with this master research, I'm questioning how can actually a score rather than refer to something else, refer to a performance, or being merely a tool, a communication tool, or merely an archive, how can the score be a little more than that and refer to itself? So referring to itself means that then the score performs, and this thinking, a little crazy thinking at first, people really, yes, it needed some argumentation. This thinking brought me into the...
It's like a Duchampian move that you said, let's put the urinal in the museum.
Let's say that the score would refer to itself and nothing else. It was really a challenging question, and yes, and with the book, actually, I kept developing the way I was already writing, and I started to turn to the other, so who performs actually? So is the book performing? Is the reader performing? And at first I was very just strict with my idea that it had to be the book, but it's actually the relation. It's the book encountering the reader, and that's where the performance occurs. So
it seems to be that that's always the case in practically anything that based in any kind of format of
indeed,
that we engage.
Yes, but then the book gave some other, opened some new doors somehow, because thanks to the book, in comparison with a theater performance, a traditional performance in the theater, with the book I can play with time in a way that I will never do. So the reader actually can start by the end of the performance. With the words, I can manage to stretch time in the imaginary of the reader. So the imaginary becomes much more real in a way.
And also it's interesting because, let's say that I made my little stick figures going around and I can make a little dance, let's say. I follow the same path. But then you selected lava notation and certain things that I feel there's quite, an interesting appropriation as, appropriating that as a performative movement or a trope, to be used within the book.
Yes, yes.
Not only because it's useful. So do you have something to say about it?
Well, first it was very natural because lava notation was a tool I used already, and then I really have the desire to develop, to use this system that is existing, and to make it move. So it's also this wish to participate to the development of this system that should not remain static. It's a system that is intended to write, to notate movement, but in itself a moving way. So it can develop. It can be used outside of its own box, I think. So I had the intention to contribute to that conversation, and then I wanted also to offer different layers of reading to the reader, so you could read it very quickly, or you could really decode the glossary and see the signs of notation, what does it refer to, and all of a sudden a drawing takes another meaning. But
and can you tell me, more a little bit about that kind of the materiality of the book, like the design or, their choices made there?
Yes, yes.
Certain kind of handmade, perhaps. It has it has a lot of things that are printed, but I think there are something about the folding and.
Yes. Well, the design of the book has been really thought as. It contributes to the performance. It's so for instance, the picture of the crumpled paper is directly relating to a movement material where we are invited to crumple paper, to crumple it physically or to just imagine we are crumpling paper. So first this aspect was a choice. Then there is the skin of the book, and the skin, it was really thought of as a skin, so we chose this fragile material, and inside is a proposition of a possible score. So yes, all of the keywords and in their visual representation, all of the keywords are gathered inside of this blue body.
That is kind of seen from above.
And it's seen from above, indeed. So I'm thinking of a body seen from above, and that's the body of the big spectator that I've been thinking in the past as a group of spectators forming one body. And that was how I used to work dramaturgically when I compose a piece. So here, the inside of the body of the big spectator, the inside of the reader, is the place of the performance somehow. So the skin was giving this information is meant to transmit that also, and to let the reader to recognize the symbols, to play a little bit. So it gives a sense of scenography also. Some of the readers during the workshop I gave.
Yes, because then you taught you led a workshop last week here.
Yes.
So can you tell a little bit how that was, or?
Yes, so it's a 3 days workshop, Sync with the Body of the Big Spectator, where readers are coming together. A third of the group had received the book 1 week before. One of the third was coming on Friday to learn a little bit about writing movement. So it was not so much really already about the book, but about writing. One other third was coming in order to talk about the reading. And then everybody gathered the second day, and we exchanged our impression of the performance we all have been reading. So I'm asking them, okay, you have been reading, watching a performance as you engaged with the book. Where did the performance take place? How did it start? Who did what? Yes, how was the stage design of the performance? What were you doing? How many times did it happen, etc.
So you're playing with this idea of continuity or the process of ongoing memory or something. Yeah, probably it's kind of this is remembering, the reading, but also is also the performance kind of continues remembering the experience, or the fact that you ask them about it.
Indeed. But the memory aspect was not so much the core of this process. Actually, it was rather, my intention was rather to observe this particular intimacy that the book creates. So the book as a space for the performance to happen generates this very easy relation, this trustful relation. And it was beautiful to see with all of these readers coming together, having seen and performed the book somehow as they were reading it, could so comfortably, could so easily speak about it, and being very welcoming in telling, well, I was in my bedroom and it was a snow day, so I stayed home the whole day, and that's what I did. I turned off the computer, I turned off the phone, and I opened the book. So they are opening a sphere that is very private, and that I found that very interesting. And all of a sudden, this thing about performing well, when you, after a performance, for instance, you want to perform well the way you talk about the performance, and all of a sudden it was much more, I found it interestingly relaxed, actually, and generous, with a form of engagement, from the spectator, actually, that for me was new, from my experience.
Do you gather the material created, let's say, during this workshop? I don't know, because I thought also it was like the traces of the same performances, in a way.
Yes.
People can make notes or drawings that remember, etc.
Yes, so the third day, actually, as they assimilate more, they had a private performance before, and then we engage into reading all together in the same space. So it's a kind of collective individual performance where they can use each other's also, so they can go interrupt the neighbor and say, well, I want you in my performance, can you stop yours? And and the third day, as they had this accumulation of experiences, the third day they would be able to reinvent. So to take the next step and rewrite the performance, rethink of it, and what if we would do that, and really take the action. So it's not, because one big challenge, my fear was in putting choreographies in the book. I was
we privilege a lot these performances, like big movement, you know, or you see it obviously, the obviousness of the virtue, you know, of doing big things, but literally, you know, we are always in this relational engagement that is embodied.
Indeed, yes, and this incipience of the action is it can be so much bigger than the action sometimes, as for its consequences, because in time.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier about, you know, there is, and I imagine that you have influence about all these readings about the emancipation of the spectator and some of the, you know, ongoing deconstructions of the performance format or the protocols of performance. So how then this fits in what you are defining, your line of research, and then you're initiating a new project?
Yes. My line of research is in relation to this part of what is behind, what you do not see. I'm trying to actually study a turn to someone other somehow. So this turn to the other, and then I connect it, of course, with notation and spectatorship. So the spectator as being one of the others I'm addressing to, and notation was. Yes, for me, I had the desire through my research to challenge the way we think of notation, to challenge the way we think of spectators. So the book was a way to keep thinking through, to challenge, to find new sets of relations between the maker, the performers, the spectators, and it opened up this possibility of thinking, well, we are all spectators at the end. So now I'm developing this thinking, this intuition of what if we would all consider ourselves in the artistic process as being spectators. And I'm now developing one more expansion, one more layer of this book that is called Twist in the Body of the Big Spectator, where we are all spectators inside of a body. We are all in the theater, and what is at the core is the different degrees of implication. So the dancers I'm working with, the composer I'm working with, they become expert readers. They learn the language, they learn how to read the book, so they are able to reinvent. And then we have implicated spectators, such as the readers I encountered in the workshop, and how would they come inside of this body, and the spectator that just passed by. So I'm developing the research in this matter of gathering different implications of spectators together.
And one of the things that I forgot to ask is, what is this relationship of when you are in a workshop and someone gives you a book? Of course, the intimacy is created because we know the writing so well that we are not aware that we are reading. Practically it becomes this very fast, automatic, cognitive skill. So. But when we see a book that, of course, is, it has this in English and has a lot of symbols that we understand, right? And the signs of our language, but our alphabet.
Yes.
But then there is this other, like mathematical formulas or Laban notation that I kind of know what it is and recognize, but I'm not an expert. Yeah. So how do you overcome that, or is that part of the exploration?
The use of these different forms of writings were meant to trigger the movement of thoughts. So to have the thoughts to be dancing actually as one read. So it's really about not getting everything at once, but having to engage, having to think. Well, okay, here I have two multiplications. So what?
Yeah, like there is this.
What could this multiplication sign mean actually? So trying to engage in uncoding for me is a form of dancing in the mind, and a dance that happens a lot in the mind of a spectator watching a performance, trying to understand somehow, to get something out of it. So
yeah, and we have a lot of our own encodings
exactly.
and things that we know where to do, etc.
Yes. Yeah. So it's this. I'm very interested in these different backgrounds that we all have, and what happens when it comes together in this body of the big spectator. So this next project for me is really about trying to raise this awareness in an audience of being all together, and this simplicity actually that makes it possible to be also intimacy.
That it can be, go to a dance performance or gather for a book club.
Indeed. Yes.
And we talk about the thing.
And we talk about it. It's
or try to, it's a way of getting together.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure, and good luck with the project. And
Thank
I have
you.
another shot here.
Yes.
Yes. And one question: how the people can get a better look of the book, or if they can, is there a website or something that they can get the PDF?
Yeah, well, we are working on that. For now, it's really the rare numbers that we have. The book is republished in March, so we'll have extra numbers that people can order, and through the website Post Company.
Okay. What is the name of the company?
Post.
Post.
P-O-S-T, and then slash.
Yeah.
Slash underscore. How do you say? C-I-E.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I mind if we Google your name, it will show up.
Exactly, and the PDF should also come. I need to think of the PDF.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I know, that is a question.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.